Okay, good evening, everyone. Um, we are having a live today with Tolulope Gbenro. I'm just trying to see if we can quickly get across to her and have her on this live. So thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you. Okay. So today we're talking about women in politics. We're reflecting on the 2023 elections, which, as we all know, we do not have as much female representation as even the last elections before the 2023 elections. And if you ask me, this is something we need to talk about. We need to know why. We need to know the way forward, and we'll be having Tolulope because I believe she's someone who is more you know exposed to this area. She's experienced, she has a lot of insights, and I can't wait for everyone to hear from her wisdom and just learn. We also have about 4 questions for her, so this live is going to be very brief as possible. Once she comes up, we introduce her, and then we let everyone um ask questions if there's any other question apart from the 4 questions. So I am really sorry, but I'm trying to navigate um adding her to this. Okay, so I think she will be joining us soon. I just have to wait a bit. I'm actually not familiar with IG Live. This is literally my first time doing anything, so please pardon me if there are so many irregularities and all, but you know it's going to be fun. We're going to learn a lot. Actually, I remember feeling some type of way after, I don't know how many of us realized that we do not have a female governor, and at some point it was looking like we're going to have a female governor, and now we do not have a female governor. So um I remember asking, someone if true leader would have made a difference in female representation in politics, because I don't know, it just felt like we all were so eager to have that figure in place that we didn't realize that at the end of the day, what really matters is the long-term effect of this kind of movement, the long-term effect of having a female in power. What does it imply? And there's also the double standard as well. We expect women to go through fellowships, leadership programs, and everything before they feel qualified to actually bring themselves up and say, "Oh, I want to contest for this position." And I think it's something that we also need to talk about. Are we creating a problem by having all these women in leadership programs or events or fellowship or trainings? Are we trying to imply that women on their own are not yet in that space to be politicians or to be good leaders? And yeah, those are one of the things we're going to address. Still holding on for Tolulope to join us. Once again, I am really, really sorry for the okay. Okay, Halima's pop. Okay.
Hi, good evening. Can you see and hear me?
Yes, I can see you and hear you clearly. Good evening.
Apologies for the delay.
No problem. I was actually thinking it was my fault because I was trying to send the invitation to you and I didn't know how that worked because this is my first time organizing it. But thank you for joining
Oh,
swiftly.
yeah.
So we'll start off
So I
immediately.
think we can start.
Once
Oh, I said I think we can start now.
Okay, all right. So we'll start off immediately. Firstly, thanking you for spending this time with us today. As many people as will be joining would actually gain wisdom and insights from you, and that's why I'm so excited to have you join us. So thank you for just answering this random person on Instagram and getting on board with this. So um what I know about you is from my own personal research. Like I mentioned to you, I found your page, literally on Explore, and I was so inspired. That was why I followed. I'm serious. That was why I followed like immediately because I was particularly drawn to your work in Ilorin, where you're the project lead of the Space for Her Fellowship, and I have seen how consistent you've been in talking about women in leadership and that it's actually possible and it should be done. And I see how passionate you are, and I'm just like, okay, this is rare. I mean, for this generation especially because there's beginning there's a decline somehow in the mindset of people towards leadership. Before we had this ginger that we can do everything, women, but suddenly there's this everyone just wants to live the easy life and the soft life and forget about leadership and the sacrifices it takes. So I know that about you. I also know that you are now in the Sahara. I have to mention that because congratulations.
Thank you.
And I know you are a social impact activist. I know you are into the international development space. So apart from those things, what else would you like to tell us and just to note?
I think that's pretty much the summary of the introduction about me. My name is Tolu, and I'm passionate about positive change. I'm passionate about women empowerment, women participation in politics and leadership, advocacy, impact, climate change, and basically anywhere there's positive change. I feel it should not be restricted to a field of, or should I say, a thematic area. You could choose to focus on education, right, for a while, and then you would see an opportunity to make impact in another space. So do you then restrict yourself because you say you are advocating for education, So that's pretty much it. For my first degree, I studied industrial physics, applied geophysics. So I have a bachelor's of science in that from Covenant University. I think
Wow.
that's pretty much the introduction.
Thank you so much. It's a very humble introduction because I have to mention that you are also an icon for climate action and justice. And this is also another rare part of you. And I hope everyone is, just inspired just listening to this. She's amazing, honestly. So the first question I would have for you is based off of the fact, like this title of the life, it's we're reflecting on the 2023 elections and, you know, focusing the lens on the State House of Assembly, where we have 999 and we only had 49 females occupied those seats, spread across some states, I think mostly southwest and southeast. And then we have just one person in northwest. Can you hear me properly?
Yeah, or I was disconnected for a while, but I can hear you now.
Okay. So that low representation, 49 females out of 993, it's really strange. And I just want to hear from you, like, why do you think the numbers were so low this time around? Sorry, excuse me. Why do you think the numbers were so low this time around? I mean, I think it was better the last elections than this one. So just to hear from you.
Okay, hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, can you repeat the ending part? I think you were asking why the numbers were low.
Yeah, yeah. In your opinion.
In my opinion, I think it's a variety of factors. One, we generally have women participation in politics, and by politics I mean civil duty. So you have females voting, you have them leading campaigns, you have them participating actively in election, but you don't necessarily see them vying for offices, except in maybe few cases. Most of the females in leadership, majority of them are by appointments, not necessarily even by elections. So, well, it's a man's world. So that's one reason. Two, I think culture and religion plays a very big factor because you still hear things where women are told that they should not be pastors, they should not be religious leaders, and the man is the head basically based on, should I say, the Nigerian society, and then we see that playing out. Another reason could be apathy, right? Political apathy. Females don't, they just don't want to participate in leadership roles. They probably feel they are not good enough compared to their male counterparts. Another reason would be you can say the whole Japa situation because we have a lot of people leaving the country and value. So if you look or you do a close research, you will see that Nigerian women are amazing in the international stage. You would see them doing so many global things, global leadership, global this, global that. And when it comes to home, you're wondering what's happening, right? Because the structure at home doesn't necessarily allow women to lead, doesn't encourage women to lead. There's also the factor of women being their own problem, right? We saw Funke Akindele in Lagos State,
Yeah.
and we heard other people calling her prostitute for choosing to participate in politics. So you have women shaming other women, labeling other women, and just being unsupportive and being their own problem. And then there's the place of education and experience. So you have women wanting to go into politics and they don't have the right knowledge on what to do in politics. They don't have the right resources in terms of finance because politics is expensive. And well, again, in Nigeria, some of these things should have limits, but they don't necessarily have. So people can spend as much as they want on election campaigns. Meanwhile, there should be a limit on the amount that people spend to allow for equality in the political sector, and you don't have those generally. So it's definitely a lot of factors. Another one could also be work-life balance because it's difficult for women to even do anything when you're at work and then you have MP, you are struggling to say, please give me an hour to take my med and allow the med set in before I do one thing or the other. So it's like, how do you want to balance having a family of four, raising responsible children in this world, in this age, ensuring everyone eats well in your family, and you still want to handle politics. Some people will tell you it's impossible to multitask. So there are definitely a variety of factors. Insecurity, I think insecurity also added to that. If we are seeing a focus on political leaders being targeted by terrorist group and militants, and being in that city is also going to increase the effect of insecurity on you or spotlight you in that area. You wouldn't necessarily want to participate because you're wondering what's going to happen. Will I travel by train tomorrow and then I'm kidnapped? Will I be in a flight tomorrow and the flight is hijacked? So it's definitely a couple of factors, but I think political apathy definitely number one, and then the culture, the political climate of the country is definitely another one.
Thank you so much. I think you've mentioned, in fact, everything here is a subject matter that can be talked about on its own, literally for days. And um, the one which you said that really struck me was concerning religion, because I am actually working on this. I was working on this research project on religion and violence against women. How that is actually a link, and is a two-way link, in the sense that sometimes religion can be, one of the triggers, or one of the what's the word, like the enabling environment. And at the same time, religion can also be a strategy to tackle violence against women. And I think the same thing applies with politics too. Like, once we see religious bodies, talking about women should be in power and encouraging. I remember being so happy during the coronation of King Charles. I don't know if you saw that there was a
Yeah.
woman, yeah, being amongst one of the people, doing the swearing in ceremony. And I was just so encouraged, like, okay, this is representation. And people are seeing this, and it's communicating something to them that I can do this. And I saw a video of yours where you were talking to um, girls, and you were telling them to say after you that they are good leaders, that they are
Yeah,
wonderful people.
basically.
And I saw how, like, they were so loud, and I could feel, the ginger that, okay, I'm a good leader. And this is going to lead me to the second question, of what can be done. Um, from my end, just observing and learning, I've also seen that this affirmation thing that we talk about plays such an important role. And this brings me to the question. I might be nitpicking, I'm sorry, but I just have to mention, what is the deputy governor syndrome attached to women? Why do we feel like, okay, we should have a male governor, then let's just have a male deputy governor to maybe balance it? Why has that been? Do you think the foundation is coming from schools, where we have um the president as the boy, and then we say the vice president, okay, let it be a girl for balance? Do you think all those things are playing into what is happening now, and how can we tackle that?
Yeah, I think basically it still has to do with culture. That's basically culture, right? We live in a society where men are considered leaders and rulers, and even in marriages, women are taught to submit, definitely. And then you have women being considered as support systems, or basically deputies in every system. So I was in a classroom, and we had to select representatives randomly, new people, all of us together. We had to select representatives. So we picked two people. We picked a guy and a girl, and then randomly the moderator just said, "Oh, this guy is going to be the head, and then the lady is the deputy." It was just by default. And then what you said, I processed it in my head. I was just like, it's too early. I just came here. Let me not start. Do you understand? So I didn't really say anything about it, but yeah, I think it's sort of conditioning based on culture that the man is always in charge, the man always leads, and even long before now, where you have some scientific inventions, you have situations where women actually made scientific discoveries, but because they are women, they weren't necessarily given the Nobel Peace Prize alone. They had to be given the prize with their husbands, just so that they could gain recognition. So I think it comes down to society. Well, some people would also describe it for politics by saying we are trying to encourage females to come in, so we should encourage them to come in as deputy. And then when we have enough of them, we can now say they can fight equally. I don't necessarily agree with that school of thought. And there's the constant debate of equality and equity, and we're not sure how long that's going to go on for, right? Because we're saying women should participate in politics, and then there's a question of competence. Are these people competent enough? Because you don't want to say, let's have 50 men or 50% male and 50% female in a parliament, and you're struggling to look for the 50% females to make up that parliament because you want to be politically correct in terms of gender, but in terms of qualification, the people you are bringing in are not qualified. So there's that bias that feels we don't have enough women that are qualified. I disagree. I think we have enough women that are qualified. I think some of them are just not interested in um, politics in Nigeria because of how that has played out. I mean, 2023 political what's it called atmosphere is going to be a case study for a very long time, even for our children that will come later, right? So there's definitely a lot, but I think culture plays a very important role, even at home, in African homes and in Nigerian homes. A boy will scatter something and the sister will be told to clean up. The sister has to be the one to cook, to clean. And if you're not able to, multitask at that very young age, you're described as a lazy girl. You're described as not good for marriage. You're described as, if you don't learn this now, you won't learn it in uni. Nobody's going to marry you. If nobody marries you, your life is useless. That kind of situation. So I think, the patriarchy in society definitely plays a very important part in that. And like I said, culture, but I think there's a way it can be separated, right? Especially in terms of religious beliefs, saying that the man is the head of the family, where your religion applies to that, and the woman still submits. And in the workplace, you understand that if she is more qualified to be in that position, then she's there. You see all these funny takes on Twitter that, what if I and my wife are working in the same company, or we met in the same company, and then we get married and she gets promoted and she's earning more? Does she leave the job for me to take the job so that I can be promoted? And just so many things. I don't think anybody's qualification should be based on their reproductive system or their reproductive organs. So if someone is qualified for the job, they should go ahead to do the job.
Yeah.
So I think that's what plays a factor in that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So we're just going to, so we'll not overwhelm you, and you can keep talking for hours, to be honest, about this topic. So if you have any questions, please just write it in the comments or send it through the question tag. Anyhow you want to ask the question, I would answer it immediately, because we are taking the last question now, and then if there are no other questions, then we'll have the last comments from Tolu, and then that will be all. So still reflecting on the 2023 elections, I think you mentioned it, but I just want to bring light to that matter again. And this is to women. Like, women, please, let's stop this thing where we pull ourselves down. And sometimes I actually catch myself, and this is how the society develops and grows, when every individual is having this self-reflection on how you can be better. That is how the society gets better. It's not magic. And sometimes I catch myself seeing a woman do something, and I'm thinking, okay, did she really do this, or she got help from? And then I catch myself and I'm like, no, this is double standard. We can't be saying women should be qualified. When I hear people say that thing, I'm always in politics, I'm always very puzzled, because I have been my dad is a politician, so I have been in the political space, watching interactions between these politicians, and trust me, there is no qualification whatsoever that these people have. I'm not talking about for local government chairman. So I'm not talking about local government chairman, like governors that literally they were just a godfather just told them, oh, what are you doing right now? Fly down, let's start campaigning, let's start having town hall meetings, and before you know it, this person is actually a governor. I have seen politicians who studied the most unrelated. I think this Sanwo-Olu was into the banking industry before he switched to politics, and we have so many cases like that. So please, can we stop this double standard, expecting that women have to be qualified, we have to take a training, we have to take a course, we have to be into political science? I mean, if you wake up tomorrow and say you want to run, I'm not going to ask you what are your qualifications in the sense of feeling you are not qualified enough. I am going to ask you what you intend to do, because that is what we are asking other politicians. So bringing to the light of women supporting women, because you also talked about that, I'm going to highlight Funke Akindele's case, where people said a lot about her family. People brought in a lot of things that were very unnecessary. So I'm going to ask you, why do you feel women do that? Like, why do we do that to ourselves? And do you think it's a valid label to say that women pull women down? Because I also think there's a debate on that. And if you think that label exists, then how do we move forward from it? How do we now form an association? I think we have Elect Her NG that is
Yeah.
currently doing so many amazing things. I see the way they push for support. They actually fund these women. Finance. We need money to do all these things, because money is the game changer. Is as far as Nigerian politics is concerned, and to be very honest, everywhere in the world, money plays such an important role. And not just money, there's also human capital, your connections, the number of people you know, the number of people that are affiliated to you. And so yes, just to get your thoughts on that, women supporting women. How do we get better supporting women? And how do we also maintain that balance? I don't want us to fall into a trap of also just voting women, by default. Anything, I always go for this woman, or always go for a woman, and then we now find ourselves in trouble. So, what do you think?
Well, I think it still comes back to society and conditioning, because the way most girls in Nigeria have been brought up, they've been told that they are not enough, and nothing they do is ever going to be enough. So a female child comes home with first position, a male child comes home with first position. The celebrations, the affirmations, basically the feedback they get from their parents are different for both of them because of their gender. So when women see other women doing amazing things, there's that tendency to react and say, who are you? Why are you doing too much? Why can't you be average? And then there's also the jealousy inside, saying that could be me, that could have been me if XYZ ABC. So I think there's definitely a lot when it comes to conditioning and trauma that people need to heal from, and things that people just need to, continue learning, learn, unlearn, relearn, and just drop some bad ideologies. Also would be education. The education system plays a very important role, right? I like to use sex education that has just been removed from the basic education curriculum. For a number of young people didn't necessarily know about sex or premarital sex until primary 5, primary 6, when it was like the last topic taught in social studies, right? So social studies and civic education, they play very important roles. And if we keep teaching human rights without necessarily teaching, the right values and support and unity, it's also going to be a problem. And then definitely a community is needed for women, because these days people learn more by examples, right? There was a time that people were wearing skirts, these popular jean skirts that would stop at your knee level, and now you don't necessarily see that everywhere, because the climate of fashion has changed in the world and Nigeria. So when there's a trend and you have influencers doing something, then you would have other people or younger girls want to follow. So young girls definitely need more examples, more positive examples of women supporting women. It may not even necessarily be in politics, but just to let them know that this is possible, this can be done, you can be successful, another woman can also be successful, and you don't necessarily have to pull a woman down for what's it called, for you to be successful. And because a woman is successful doesn't always mean that a man or a male folk is behind her success. So I think that's one. Then the part about women pulling other women down, yeah, that also exists, and it's not proper, right? It's almost like the endless battle of private university versus public university graduates, and everybody's trying to discredit everybody's results and so on and so forth. If you didn't have an opportunity to get something, either as a woman, as a girl child, or even as a human being. It can hurt, but you just have to learn to heal, move on, and continue with your life, right? I mean, we have stories of successful people, whether millionaires, billionaires, Forbes 30 under 30, and so on and so forth. And not everybody came from a wealthy background or inherited wealth, but people are still able to work hard and find their footing. Work hard, I don't mean all these video that they will post one picture wearing rag, the next day they are driving Benz. No, I mean, I don't know what they are doing for those kind of switches, so I can't speak for necessarily against that. But for people to be diligent at what they do, and reap the fruits of their labor, of their hard work. And these days, everybody just wants to be, successful. I was just meditating some days back, and I was wondering, everybody wants to fly first class, right? So, do we now? Is it that airplanes have to change and have majority of their seats as first class, and the quantity of seats they would have ideally as first class for economy? Like, do you understand what's happening? Everybody wants to live a certain lifestyle, right? So yeah, that's my response to that.
Thank you so much. With regards to what you said about first class, I just realized that another thing is even affecting the gap between the rich and the poor, because you keep
Definitely.
having the standards reduced so that people will pay more. For example, the flights, I think there was a time that you would actually pay economic and you won't even feel like you are missing out on something because you are comfortable, you eat well, you enjoy your flights. But now, if you're in economy, you know that, oh, I'm not in first class. So it continues to widen the gap. And I think that's another thing about women in politics too. We have to make it look simple for people, because this thing is simple. I always encourage people that we have communities where, we have a platform. Okay, there's a town hall happening next to you. I think I'm trying to remember the name of this organization that is so good at encouraging youth to participate. I think it's, oh, the
Is it
name is,
Yaga or is it Leap Africa or
yeah, is easy. Yes, thank you. So you just say, oh, there's a town hall going next to you, there's a political meeting, and then it's that easy. Before you know it, youths are in there participating, campaigning, joining these meetings, and seeing that this is actually very simple. Get the form, go online, get the membership form for any party that you want to join. Um, what else? Campaign. Then, if you lose, you wake up and re-strategize and go again and go again and go again. I mean, Buhari, that is our president right now, contested how many times? I think, like, I know I was in primary school when he started contesting. And in there now. So this is, if you lose in an election. There's one woman I deeply respect. Her name is Natasha Apoki. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her surname correctly, but she's in the Northwest, and she has been contesting. I've been hearing her name on the political space for years. She's not in yet, but I know she'll be in one day. I'm so confident, and I'm confident that she would move up from there. So politics is simple. Please, I just want to encourage everyone. It's not so complex. Nobody is going to kill you by the grace of God. I'm praying for you that they won't kill you if you want. So everyone is scared. Even men, live with that fear of the danger, everything, the finance, how will I do this, how will I do that? But we just have to start. We just have to forge ahead. And please, let's support people that are in this space. We had a question about women supporting women in supporting roles in politics, and I think Toriloko already tackled that. How that we just need to change things by education. We need to change things by the cultural and religious aspects of everything. So in case you are in a scenario where they are already saying, okay, there are two people, a man and a woman, and they're already saying this is the assistant, this is the president, you can speak up. You can say why. Like, I want to question this. What is the basis for this decision? Is it because you feel naturally? I mean, I keep saying this thing. women are submissive in their homes, as wives. It is not in our place to say that this is the permanent role that women should take in the society. As regards, we are literally going to harm ourselves, because the world, the global scope right now, seeing what is going on in New Zealand, even in UK, we have female prime ministers doing amazing. Like, they are crushing it. This during the COVID era, we were literally praising all of them, Angela Merkel, all of them. They were doing so amazing on the field and just showing us that women can lead, as in they can do it perfectly well. So please, let's encourage each other, let's push each other. So we do not have any other questions apart from that one. So I will just ask Tolu to give her final comments, and then we call it a day.
All right, thank you. So I would just touch on the question a bit. Why is it that women need men's support to take on political roles? Women do not necessarily need men's support to take on political roles, but the climate of politics is different, and it is dominated by the male folks. So getting in is not necessarily going to be easy, right? I think I saw a situation for some of the fellows from the program we did in Kwara State, and I was happy that one of them was very she was supported by her party, and a lot of male folks supported her, because basically there were males there. If she had female folks there, they would have supported too. But that particular area and sector is basically dominated by males. And I think the political space definitely needs a lot of work. And that's why women, and not just women, but good, qualified, and capable people should contest and should fight for a seat at the table, because we would keep having to answer these questions if we don't have the right people sitting at the table. And then I was also even thinking, like some months back, in a situation where you have a cabal system running things, do you necessarily need a cabal to overthrow a cabal, or do you need an individual to overthrow a cabal? I'm not sure of the answer to that for now, but we should definitely do what we can and start in the little way we can. Even in schools, when you meet young girls, they ask you, what do you want to be? They will basically tell you teacher, nurse, lawyer, doctor. Then when they want to talk about trade, they will say tailor, this, that, this. And we can see women doing a lot, breaking glass ceilings, stepping into sectors that were not necessarily dominated by women. So a lot of work definitely, again, has to be done in the conditioning. And if you feel qualified, even if you feel unqualified, and as a woman you want to go into politics, then seek the right resources, seek the right people, because there are people that want to help. There are resources that are readily available, and learn and develop yourself, because you don't just want to go in and say, I'm a woman, but I am not developed, right? I remember a situation during one of the primaries for a party, and then a woman said, I would step down for XYZ because women are not ready. Women are ready, so just speak for yourself, right? And the support you need is readily available. If you want to buy hair of 20K, you don't know anybody that is selling hair of 20K, but you will go and find the person that is selling hair of 20K, and you begin to market the person like, yo, I got this hair for 20K. If you want to buy hair of 500K, you don't need to know anybody selling hair for 500K. You would go ahead and do your research. And it's the same thing. So if you want to make a change, you don't have to be qualified. You just have to be ready and become qualified in the process, right? Because there's a lot of work that you need to do on yourself, and a lot of work that definitely needs to be done in the country for sustainability. We have lawmakers, we have policies. It's easy to say Nigeria has certain policies, but those policies are not relevant. So do we actually have those policies, right? So there's the need for a new set of lawmakers, and there's also, sustainability, right? If you have this person coming to leadership, what's the person doing to stay relevant? How are they sustaining their knowledge in that field? By the next election, would you still be relevant in the political space, or would you be a liability that we are begging people to vote you out, right? So these are things that are important and should be considered. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. This has been amazing, and this is going to be up on my feed. So anyone that comes in that wants to listen all over again, please make sure that you do. Thank you so much. This life is a, what's the word now? This introduction is quite hard, but this life is organized by Her Dream Initiative, and it's a non-governmental organization that aims to empower women and girls. And we also focus on advocacy for the rights of women. And this life is just one of the expressions of the organization, and we intend to do so many more. Next week, we are having another one on economic abuse, and I think it has been gaining traction already on Twitter. And I hope that we can keep the conversation going, talking about economic abuse as a form of domestic violence. It happens, it's real, and people are suffering it every day. So thank you so much, Olope. Please follow. Let's follow Olope. This woman is doing amazing things, and I just going to your page. I think because I'm a believer, and I'm always so excited and joyful when I see believers, change makers who are so passionate and are doing their best to bring out the full expression, fulfilling God's will on earth. And so I'm happy, and I just want to say thank you for all that you do, and that we are cheering you on, we're supporting you. You just know there's Heritage here, always supporting you. Her Dream Initiative is always supporting you. And we are so excited for all that you're going to be doing, in the next couple of years. So thank you for your time, and have an amazing evening. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Heritage. Bye.
Bye.